Welcome back, all you Regs, and to all you Shinies. Welcome to the most mediocre podcast in the Star Wars universe, the 1313 podcast. I'm Tommy.
And I'm Jackson.
And we're back with another video, another podcast, another little fun time for you guys. Unfortunately, we could not afford to have 3 chairs this week again. Jacob decided to go check out another podcast out in Florida called Galaxy's Edge Podcast. So unless you guys really step it up and start giving us the super thanks on the posts, he's not coming back. Yeah. So
Jacob was at Galaxy's Edge. As of recording today, he was there yesterday. Yeah. So he was taking a lot of photos. Super jealous of him because I still haven't been yet. And he had a blast. So really happy that he's down in Florida on spring break right now. Spring break. Living his best life. So love you, Jacob. Get back safe. Be here for the next episode, please. But how's everything going with your week, Tom?
Good, dude. I've been working a lot. Work's been really busy, so that's good. And then I just recorded 12 action figure and other Star Wars product reviews yesterday, and then I edited a couple today. So still keeping the steady flow of reviews coming. Aside from that, just staying up till 3 a.m. to watch The Bad Batch, and then regretting that because I woke up and missed that the pre-orders for the Clone 2-pack at Target opened back up.
Oh, I also missed that because I was just asleep in general. I woke up at 6 to watch The Bad Batch, and then I just hopped back in bed for a minute, and then I saw that I missed the pre-order, but it's going to keep popping up here and there. It's not a huge deal, and we're going to find it in
2 minutes again, too, the pre-orders.
Yeah. But it is what it is. I'm confident that we'll find it day of when we need it. So that's why I'm not like, oh no, I missed the pre-order.
Right.
But for myself, though, biggest shout out that we have for this week is the merch is now live. Woo! As of shooting this video. Well, by the time you're seeing this on 7 a.m. at noon, I'm going to be having a short video come out talking about the merch, where to find it, and all the different options that we have. I have our low-key t-shirt on, and I have a phone case as well. I don't know if it'll show up on camera okay, but I got the 1313 phone case. I have a tank top as well, but that'll all be featured in the video later. So if you want to cop some awesome 1313 merch, make sure to check out our new and improved merch store. All the stuff is really good quality, so we hope you'll love it.
For sure.
The other thing that I could really think about that was notable is that while Jacob was at Galaxy's Edge yesterday, he ended up getting me Ezra's lightsaber. Ooh. And so now my big goal is next month in April, when we have cons start to roll around in our area, is I was already planning to meet Natasha, who plays Sabine in live action, and then Taylor Gray again, because he took Vanessa Marshall's spot in the other con that we were going to go to. But I would love to have both of them sign the lightsaber now, since they both use it.
Actually, the lightsaber changes when
it changes.
Natasha uses it in the Ahsoka series.
It changes, but Ezra still gives her that version of the lightsaber, and she uses it as that form until she later changes it. Technically, it's still more accurate because she uses it.
That's not Sabine's lightsaber. That'll still be Ezra's lightsaber.
Cry, all of you shills, cry. But I'm really excited about that. So looking forward to next month. Still trying to get 5s done. Begging and pleading to get 5s done at this point. But
we're almost there. Oh, jeez, I'm tired. I need to wake up.
Stop being tired, bro. I know last night you were like, I need to drink coffee to stay up till 3 a.m. So
I was falling for the psyop all day, and now I need to now my brain is tired from being a zombie all day. No, I'm just kidding.
You still going to stay up with us to watch the last episode of The Bad Batch?
Yes, I'm going to stay up to watch this. The other crazy thing, or not crazy thing, the other thing I did just today was I bought a bunch of frames for my Star Wars posters, and I've been attaching them to the ceiling, the vaulted ceiling in my Star Wars room. So I'm going to hope that I put one up for now. I'm going to see if it sticks overnight. If it's still...
See if it falls and smashes you on the head in your sleep.
Well, I put it in the middle of the room, like where there's no shelves below it or anything.
Yeah, that's smart.
So if it falls by tomorrow, then I'm going to scrap the idea. But if it doesn't fall by tomorrow, I'm going to hang up the other 4 or 5 posters that I have. So
that'll be pretty dope, dude.
For sure. But, Jackson, we have not really any Star Wars news or rumors, do we?
No, unfortunately not. We were just briefly talking before the show. I was catching up on some Rebel Force Radio. If you don't follow them, they're an amazing Star Wars podcast. But they were mentioning how, with the Acolyte stuff that we talked about last week, that Acolyte would be potentially slated for early June. They were saying Collider Magazine had said June 5th, and that they reached out to Lucasfilm and Disney and didn't get a response. And then I guess if people care, the person scoring Acolyte, it is confirmed to be the person who scored all of the Jordan Peele movies. So like Get Out and all that. So kind of cool just because it's already supposed to be someone who's very experienced in horror. So I guess that only speaks to maybe a little bit more that we'll see for the Acolyte. But other than that, we've had some pretty dry news right now for Star Wars, which is fine. We're in the middle of the Bad Batch, so I'm not expecting to hear anything about like the Acolyte until the Bad Batch is even over, because then that'll look better for marketing, because you don't want to talk about it in the middle of another series happening.
Yeah, like they did for Bad Batch Season 2 and Mando Season 3.
Yeah, that was just annoying.
That was a mess.
In my opinion. Or when Bad Batch Season 1 was right about to air its last episode, and they're like, guys, Bad Batch Season 2 is going to be a thing. And we're like, great.
Now there's no stakes.
The surprise.
There's no stakes. I was expecting them to all die, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's jump into it. This episode was called The Return. And first impressions, Jackson, how are we feeling about this?
Absolute banger. This episode was so much fun to watch. I feel like every single episode is just back-to-back like action and content, and it's just really interesting every week to see it. And I just don't feel disappointed at all with anything in the show. I have no big expectations. Like, I know everybody in their minds is building up the clone, like, rebellion or civil wars coming, even though we've been saying that since season 1. So if it doesn't happen, I'm literally not going to be upset, because I know this is cooking in some direction and that it'll be a good finished product. But what about you, Tom? First impressions on the episode?
Loved it.
Yeah.
Loved it. I think it was
banger.
Some very much needed character development and a lot of conversations between characters that I've been wanting to see. I think first and foremost, it's good to point out that I really like that the Bad Batch just didn't welcome back into the crew with open arms.
Kind of knew that. I mean, at least for Wrecker and Echo's case, you know, they're already a squad that has to work together, so they're going to accept that. And Wrecker was more easy to accept Crosshair back into the mix because of Omega. Because, again, like he said, if Omega trusts him, then he's fine, you know? It isn't something to worry about. I felt like Hunter in this episode was kind of low-key a jerk the entire time.
Yeah, well, Crosshair called that out when they're talking to each other on. The planet is called Barton 4. That's what I was looking up while you were talking.
Okay. I was looking at
earlier.
Barton 4 earlier because I was trying to connect a lore piece I'll talk about later.
Yeah, so that planet is called Barton 4. And Crosshair says to Hunter, kind of calls him out like, you feel guilty that you couldn't find Omega.
And that I did instead.
And then I was the one that helped her.
Yeah.
And that is why Hunter is apprehensive towards Crosshair. It's more than just, I don't know if I trust him.
Oh, yeah, and I 100% agree with that, too, because he wanted to be the one to save the day and get Omega, and then it's like, whoops, Crosshair's back. Oh, and he had it, so the entire galaxy that you combed 5 times, apparently, was for nothing, because he did it the entire time.
The big theme of this episode was definitely different characters dealing with guilt. And and figuring out how to deal with that. Crosshair's, I think, being the most obvious and the one that we focused on the most. And as the viewer, I think it's the one we needed to focus on the most. Obviously, you have other characters dealing with guilt in different ways, like we just said, Hunter dealing with the guilt of not finding Omega himself and getting her out of Tantus.
And him being the reason she got stuck in Tantus to begin with.
Right. And then you have Omega dealing with the guilt of leaving all the other clones behind on Tantus, and Echo kind of talks her through that. It's a good teaching moment, which is great because I did miss Echo.
Echo's dope.
And then, but for Crosshair though, they did a really good job with the symbolic is that what it is? The word I'm looking for? It was, yeah,
Talking about the bird?
The symbolic nature of the vulture.
Yeah, the crystal vulture.
Yeah, those are the vultures from season 2.
Yes.
That basically eat all the dead people.
Yeah.
Including, it's implied that Mayday gets eaten by the vultures. Mm-hmm. So, when they get there, Crosshair sees the vultures flying around, hovering. Mm-hmm. When Crosshair walks back out and towards the middle of the episode, out of the base, right before we see the big Steelix appearance, the Pokemon Star Wars crossover, we saw the vulture is just sitting there staring at him. It's this constant reminder, and it resembles Crosshair's constant guilt that he's living with for having left the batch and all the bad things that have happened to him and to them as a result of that. And then also, towards the end of the episode, where you have, after Crosshair and Hunter have kind of their conversation, Hunter kind of tells Crosshair that he's not holding anything against him, you know, and that's the classic Star Wars trope. Everybody makes mistakes, and you have to learn to live with them. And then Crosshair looks over into the distance, and the vulture is flying away. That's symbolic of Crosshair letting go of his guilt. I thought it was a really good touch.
Yeah, I know. It's been used, obviously, in the sense that you just talked about. And then in last season, it was really meant to show, like, the redemption and the turning of Crosshair as well.
Right.
The Crystal Vulture was a really cool touch for the episode. The reason I was looking up the planet's name, though, was because I was trying to connect that if it was in the same system as the episode of the Clone Wars with the outpost that they were on with the Rishi eel, just because for me watching it at first, I felt like it maybe could be like a cousin, like species or something to exist because it has the same mandibles as the eel, the way that it goes out on like Fives' helmet that they represent later. But I was trying to look on Wikipedia and I couldn't find anything about the creature species or anything. And that's probably the only time we'll see it. Yeah. But still, that was just first thought was, oh, it's a Rishi eel. It's like the outpost with the clones. And yeah.
I thought it was a cool touch too. I don't know if you noticed, but when the eel is underground, it actually spins like a corkscrew, and you can actually see those markings on the tunnel as well.
Yeah,
I thought that was a really neat touch, and I like when they put little details in to the story like that. So, I mean, I guess to go through the episode, it opens up with we're already back on Pabu, which I wasn't expecting this early on.
Yeah, that was honestly. Yeah, like you said, it was a surprise for sure. Wasn't expecting to go there. I mean, we got our favorite droid in the series back. We got AZ.
I knew. The second I saw him,
was hyped to see AZ.
I thought you'd be excited.
But I'm surprised that Crosshair is kind of refusing treatment, though, for whatever is making his hand shake, even though AZ could probably diagnose and treat it, like same day kind of an ordeal. Or unless it's something bigger we don't know yet. And it probably is, but I guess we'll have to figure it out later.
It is interesting. I'm between two things. Is it like... It could be either his exposure to the extreme cold on Barton 4 in season 2, that like where it took like, it's implied that it took like probably like a day or a day and a half for him to get Mayday back. And maybe it's like nerve damage in that way, or it could be from being tortured on Tantus and whatever. Maybe like Hemlock did something purposefully to screw with Crosshair's enhancement.
I guess I'm just more inclined to believe that it was something on Tantus that happened.
Right. I mean, they've been focusing on it a lot this season, so I think we'll get an answer on it eventually.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so this was the biggest thing I was thinking about the entire time in the episode. I forgot to look up the planet before I came on the show, but what was the planet that they went to that they freed Gregor from? In season 2, was it?
That's Tantus.
Okay, so this is... Okay, that's it was Tantus.
Yeah.
So here's what's killing me. Rex knew where Tantus was because he got Gregor's signal. And then they went to Tantus, and they know that's Tantus that they freed Gregor from. Or do they know it's Tantus?
I don't think they do.
Because theoretically, they already have the coordinates to get to Tantus. That's what's killing me then. Because I was trying to think about it during the episode, because Echo was all like, oh, like, we really need to find information about this place still, and we don't know much about it. And the entire time I was sitting there, I was like, haven't you already been there to get Gregor?
That's the thing, is they don't know that.
Well, they must not know that where Gregor was Tantus. But
I don't even think Gregor knows.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea, to be honest with you, because they think Tantus could be some, like, crazy other episode, which, well, other planet or facility, which, okay, that makes sense. But in theoretical speaking, the Bad Batch already has Tantus's coordinates on their nav computer
Yeah.
of the Marauder. So they know where it is and how to get there. They just don't know that that is the facility.
That's what it is.
Because that's what was tripping me up. Because again, that was eating at me the entire episode. And on my second watch through, I was like, like maybe I'm just overthinking this. I should look up the planet later. And then I got busy at work and I forgot. So whoopsie.
Yeah, I'm almost positive that it is Tantus. Because and that's the other.
I'm just
crazy
gonna check
part.
the episode really quick.
And that's the other crazy part too is that wait till they figure it out. I've always thought that that's Tantus. I mean, it's extremely similar.
Yeah.
In the climate of the planet and the way that it's built. And don't they look at the thing? They're like, oh, that mountain is like a station.
Yeah, the mountain is the base. That's why they couldn't find it at first. And then they had to peek through the. But Tantus is a dome. And wherever they were at was almost like a cave looking in. I need to fact check myself.
Yeah.
Where did Hunter get lost? It was in season 2, right?
I think it was in season 1.
Really?
Yeah.
I could have sworn it was in season 2.
We're gonna do some live.
Yeah, we need to do some live fact checking.
Yeah. Mount Tantus first appeared in Star Wars canon in the August 13th, 2021 season 1 finale of the animated TV show. Oh, so maybe that wasn't. Was Gregor all the way back on season 1, or maybe that was season 2? Let's see.
I need a Wikipedia.
I know.
Episode 14.
Oh. It's a different planet.
Okay, then I'm sorry. That's what I thought. Because that's what was eating me up, is the facility looked like Tantus in War Mantle. That's the episode. It's in season 1.
It's called Darrow.
Okay, it's Darrow.
Yeah.
Never mind, everybody who's listening. Sorry about that. At least we fact checked ourselves live on the show to make sure this was right.
I feel like we on several occasions have said,
okay.
Well, hang on.
Because again, when I was thinking about the episode, the facility was the mountain, and then they had to look down into a carve that was in the mountain to figure out where to go from there. And Tantus is a gigantic dome like this, so they couldn't have climbed the dome and looked in because that doesn't make sense. Okay, so it must have not been Tantus. That's
stupid. Crazy because they look extremely similar.
They look exactly alike.
They look extremely similar. At least
someone in the comments might be able to back me up, or somebody in the comments is just going to say
I don't think anybody has ever corrected us on that though.
No, we never said it was Tantus before.
It's on the planet Wayland. Wayland.
Okay. Too many planets.
Yeah.
See, that's when I was trying to look at Wikipedia's like galactic star map to find where Darrow 4 was in comparison to like the Rishi outpost.
Right.
And all these other planets.
Barton 4.
Barton 4, sorry. Barton 4 isn't on the map yet. And because it's an entirely new planet that we just saw last season. So it needs to be declassified on where the location is in proximity to all the other planets we see in the galaxy.
Yeah, that's wild.
Okay, it's good to know that. All right.
Wow, because I think we literally have thought all this time that was Mount Tantus.
Well, that's what I was thinking going into the episode, and I was like, you idiots. But okay.
So I guess they don't know. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they really don't know where they're going. Yeah. Only Omega and Crosshair knew, and it was on the shuttle that they took. But now they don't have that.
I think they're going to try to go back. To that shuttle?
To the shuttle? No, because Hemlock was already there. He definitely already wiped it. He's not stupid.
That's true.
So they know if they were to go back, it would be a trap. And I feel like Hemlock would not suspect them to go back either. But he would still like take the necessary precautions because no one's supposed to know where Tantus is to begin with.
So I guess the question is now, what happens next? Because then we have our next 2 episodes are called... Infiltration and Extraction.
Spoilers if you didn't want the episodes. Whoops.
Whoopsie poopsie. It's a double episode drop next week.
Double episode feature.
So what are we... I mean, that can't be they're going to Tantus yet.
If I had to guess on infiltration and extraction, I would guess it's the episode where we see the clone turbo tank. Because it looks like they're stealing it from something, and it's the only thing that we were hinted at in the trailers of something like that happening. And I'm only basing the next episode's events off trailers because they intentionally show everything in the beginning in the trailers first before anything happens in the later season. So they can kind of like dupe us on what's going on. Because we've almost seen everything.
Do you think maybe...
Or maybe it's Ventress.
That would take us right to the about halfway point of the season.
We're about almost at, isn't it 12 or 15?
It's 15 episodes.
15. We're almost at the half.
So
we're
seven is about
third
there.
of the way, right? Because this was episode 5.
Yeah, we're a third of the way.
All right.
And then once we get through episode 7, that's about halfway through the season. Then
I can't believe it's already this soon.
Okay, here's a theory.
Okay,
maybe the clone turbo tank episode, because if you remember in Rogue One, they use the turbo tanks as prisoner transport vehicles. Yeah. And that's where Jyn gets extracted by K2 and the other rebels. So maybe that is where they're trying to connect the dots. Maybe these clones are going to be they're like prisoners. Mm-hmm. They're getting ready to be transported to Tantus. So maybe maybe Rex is trying to do a similar op that they did in season 2.
Where's Rex in this?
Where Gregor and Echo they hijack that prison ship, and then the Imperial officer yoinks himself with the electrical cyanide.
Yeah. That's not a bad theory.
I'm thinking maybe that they go there not only to free clones, but maybe also get some intel, which is what they've been doing. Mm-hmm. That's been Rex's biggest thing, is saving as many clones as possible.
Yeah, I'm just personally glad at this point that we're not going into next episode knowing that they're doing a mission for Sid, or they have to do a mission to get money, because clearly now they have the resources to do what they need to do. So they're not reliant on somebody, and they don't need to do side quest activities. I'll put in quotations because I don't consider the series to be filler at all. But I feel like every episode we have has to be intentional to the buildup of the end.
The vibe of this season has been completely different than the other two.
Oh, 100%. That's very I'm loving it.
It's very focused, and they're whereas like they would use, because the real definition of a filler episode, if you've ever watched an anime.
Anime does it best.
You don't really know what a filler episode is.
The beach episode is always filler.
If you haven't watched an anime, then you really don't have a good grasp on what a filler episode is. Because a filler episode is they will go on a whole adventure, and nothing about that episode, you could take that episode out of the season.
Yeah, and it wouldn't
and nothing would change. Whereas like
most of the Clone Wars.
Whereas like most of season 2 of the Bad Batch, like the episode with Fee. Well, the reason for that was to introduce you to Fee. Yeah. So that when she shows up later in the season, it's not like, oh, why are the Bad Batch just following this random character? Mm-hmm. Everything in the Bad Batch, specifically this show, has been intentional from episode 1 to where we are now.
Exactly. So, I mean, a lot of people are really liking the pacing of season 3 for sure. Again, I was talking to Tom before the show. I was checking out Rebel Force Radio's newest episode that they put out about the Billy D. Williams book that he was doing. And what really intrigued me is that there was a lot of people that were doing like Q&A sessions or commenting on their stuff who felt really disappointed by the letdown of season 3 of The Mandalorian, or just other Star Wars stuff in general. But now we're like, okay, but Bad Batch is really good.
Which is funny, because Bad Batch was like the one that I think was feeling more niche among the Star Wars shows.
I felt like a lot of people were hating it, or like
especially season 2.
Yeah, or whenever they post anything now, I'm in the comments I'm just lurking in stock, and when you least expect it. But it's overwhelmingly positive. I mean, yeah, you have your troll here and there that was saying like, oh, the show sucks. Or I remember one guy saying that like the Bad Batch is all filler, and their profile picture was themselves with a bag over their head. And the top reply to their comment was like, and that's why you wear a bag over your head, is because you have trash opinions. But it's been overwhelmingly excited, and I feel like Rebel Force did a really good job at making the point that this was a show that was kind of up and coming that people are going to resent because it's going to be, not resent, sorry. They're going to be disappointed when it's over because as soon as it's done, everyone's going to go, oh, remember the Bad Batch and remember how awesome a show that was and how it introduced all these other new things during this awkward period of time between the transition of the Republic to the Empire. And man, I miss that show.
I'm really glad that we're kind of moving away from the popular narrative is this super highbrow, like, I'm an intellectual, so I think I know better than the storytellers. Like, that was a really popular opinion to have online.
Anti-intellectualism.
For the last year or so. I have no knowledge on how this is actually made or how it works, but if I use these terms in a sentence and say I know better, then I'm the expert here. You know, it's very like, I'm glad that narrative has kind of moved to the wayside and it's not popular anymore.
Yeah. But I'm just really, really happy this is being received so well. Everybody who I talk to who's watching this right now loves it. The episode, again, this was just fantastic in every way, shape, and form. It just, it has not missed. And I feel like a broken record every week we come on the show and we're like, oh, the Bad Batch was great, the Bad Batch was great. But it is great.
Every week I just keep hoping that the next week will go by quick enough that I can just get my next episode.
Yeah, dude, I'm already, by the time we're recording this, I've seen the newest episode 3.5 times because I watched it in the morning, I watched it on my break at work, and I got home and then my dad was like, well, I didn't see the Bad Batch yet. And I was like, you need to. So I got halfway through and then Tommy arrived. So now we're shooting the show, but I can't watch it again now just because I don't want it to, because when Jacob and I were younger, if we really liked a song, Jacob would play it over and over and over. And that's just how Jacob's brain works. And that's fine. Jacob needs to hear it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again to enjoy it. But if I listen to it over and over and over, I hate it. And so there's a lot of songs I can think of that we watched things like crazy.
That's
that
funny.
I think of and I get slightly annoyed because I like the song. I just don't want to hear it again and again.
Yeah. There were a couple awesome bits in this episode, too, like Crosshair getting his Season 1 armor back.
Yeah.
That was a big moment.
Crosshair having the coldest lines in the entire show, dude. Like when Hunter's talking about, like, the scavengers, and he's like, take a guess at what happened to them. Like, you know I killed them all, kind of a thing. That was pretty heat. Crosshair even having a sense of humor was hilarious, like when Echo was hugging him, and he was like, where my hug at? Echo, where my hug at?
Super senior Crosshair.
Super senior Crosshair. Ask him where his hug at. But it's nice to see Crosshair interact with the people again. I feel like I was saying at the beginning of the season, I was a low-key Crosshair enjoyer. I'm a high-key Crosshair supremacist now, dude. I love Crosshair. Everything about him is awesome.
I got to figure out who my new favorite is now because Tech is dead. Tech was my favorite, dude. And
that's a good...
I don't know. And I also feel like, you know how we said Hunter was going to die this season? I don't know now because Hunter's
Crosshair's definitely dying, bro. The way they be developing his character this episode, you know that bullet shot gonna be wicked.
Hunter's taken a real back seat this season. And I know he's the leader of the group, but they seem to really focus on the characters that are gonna have the most happen to them. Hunter had a lot in Season 1, and Hunter hasn't dealt with a lot this season yet. So there's still time. We still have 10 episodes to get through, but I really don't think that Hunter will have that. I really don't think I think he's a lot safer than I thought he was at the beginning.
So far going into the season, I'll agree. Hunter seems safe. Crosshair seems in a very dangerous spot. We're concerned for Crosshair's life. But he will die.
That's the Star Wars thing, though. It's like a character redeems themselves, and then eventually they die. Darth Vader, Ben Solo. Like, if you look through Star Wars and all these different tropes of evil characters that redeem themselves.
Agent Callus redeems himself and he lives. That's a good one.
He almost died, though.
He did almost die. He did almost die. But I feel like, there's hope for him yet. But Crosshair had some great interaction and dialogues with Hunter. I feel like the strongest one that you mentioned at the beginning of the episode is that exchange with Hunter being like, "You're the one that." I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hit you like unexpectedly, but like, because Hunter was kind of pushing him around and roughing him up, and then he was roughing up Hunter and be like, "You want to rough me up? You're the one that failed. I sent you that message, and you didn't listen because you didn't believe me."
Yeah.
I just shared a reel actually yesterday on Instagram. I've seen it before, but it's like, it's hard as hell. But it's like the part in season 1 where Crosshair's talking to the rest of the squad and they're being like, "Oh, like yada yada," and Crosshair was like, "But you were never loyal to me. Like,
dude,
you left me behind and you made me feel abandoned." And even when he joined the Empire and he said he was doing it willingly, he still feels like he was abandoned and left behind from the group.
Crosshair is not like that. That's why I say every moment of the Bad Batch has significance. I really, truly do not believe that there is a single episode of the Bad Batch that was made with the intention of being filler. Because everything comes back. This is obviously, they didn't talk about it at length in this episode, but that's been a thing. Hunter feels like Crosshair betrayed them by leaving. Crosshair feels like Hunter and the squad betrayed him by leaving him alone.
Yeah, they left him. They left just him. Straight up.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, Crosshair did shoot Wrecker.
Yeah.
In that first episode. He shot me. But again, it's this mutual feeling of betrayal. Yes. And it was really nice to see them kind of reconcile and fight together again and realize how good of a team they are.
Yes.
It was great.
They were always meant for each other.
Yeah, it was great. And I feel like another moment that I can't believe we haven't brought up yet from this episode. I just want to say it before.
Oh, no,
actually,
you're fine.
I know I'm going to remember this, so let me say the thing I'm going to forget.
Okay.
Infiltration extraction.
Okay.
Rex is putting him on a mission to get Commander Wolf.
Tommy called it first, y'all. Tommy said it first. If we see Wolf next episode,
I'm thinking
Tommy said it first.
The Dave Filoni trope. The Dave Filoni trope. The Dave Filoni trope is going in from and up until the first half of the season. That's where all your shots are from the trailer.
Oh, because Wolf is in the trailer, right?
Wolf is in one of the trailers. So I'm just saying. We are going
to see Wolf eventually. It's just a matter of when.
It's either that or Wolf is the one that's in charge of the Venator that shows up on Pabu. Because Hemlock is having the galaxy combed at this point through any means necessary. I'm assuming bounty hunters and the Empire's resources.
Yeah, because we know Cad Bane and Fennec are both coming back because they were in the trailer, which is crazy.
And Asajj. We don't know how she's in the fold, but I do think that it's either they're going there because Rex is trying to get high commanders from the clone army to help, like, to bring into the cause. So, because Rex knows all he needs to do is bonk them on the head and get their inhibitor chip out, and they're fine. You know what I mean? Like, that's it. And at this point, too, most of the clones' inhibitor chips have worn off anyway.
Which is surprising to see that it wears off after. It still remains strong in some people, but for others, it just wears off.
And then either that or it's going to be that one episode where, you know, they do their thing with the Juggernaut, whatever, the turbo tank. They get what they get for. They come back to Pabu, and right when they get back, it's like, oh, like there's a Venator above Pabu. We need to deal with this. They see that that Wolf is in charge. Blah blah blah. I do think, though, this is a crazy theory. I'm going way off track of what I.
Sorry, that's okay. That's okay. Keep cooking.
But because I know I'm going to remember this other thing.
Okay.
But this is a crazy theory too, because I've been like, you know, been cooking. I'm always cooking when it comes to Bad Batch theories. And again, my theories on this, it's all just out of fun. I'm not going to get upset if none of these happen or anything like that.
Because that's how it should be.
Yeah. Asajj Ventress.
Okay.
She's a good person at heart.
Yeah.
And in the Clone Wars, when she teams up with Boba Fett and Bosk and all those guys, we see that she ends up letting that princess go because she sees that basically she's being a servant of some kind to that big ugly penguin dude that they were working for. So she lets her go and just becomes like a mercenary on her own. That's the last real thing before the Ahsoka episode. And again, that was Asajj helping, Ahsoka. You know, being almost not an anti-hero, but definitely more of a good guy, you know? And I think in this, she gets sent on a mission to retrieve Omega. She realizes what the deal actually is and what the Omega means to the Bad Batch.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe she will team up with Rex and the clones to go take over Tantus. I'm thinking maybe because that would be crazy. And then think about, because I know we've been saying, wouldn't it be cool if Darth Vader was in the Bad Batch? What I'm saying is, Ventress is basically like the quote-unquote Jedi General for the clones when they lead this strike force to go free all the clone troopers from Tantus. Because that would level the playing field so much between what the defenses are on Tantus, and then they have a force wielder with them. Yeah, that's good. So they're in there. Hemlock is like, Palpatine senses that something's going on, sends Vader down there. Vader ends up fighting and killing Asajj Ventress. That's the end of Asajj's character. We get the closure on screen rather than just being like, oh, she died in a book. But I think it's a pretty crazy theory, obviously, and it's pretty wild, but I think it'd be pretty cool to see. But I do think she's going to either help or team up with the Bad Batch and the clones in some way.
Yeah, because we did discuss that her lightsabers were yellow, right? Okay, because yellow
lightsaber.
As far as we understand to this point, because yellow has not been officially disclosed with meaning, isn't yellow from what we've seen. I guess you could come to the conclusion it's supposed to be rebirth. So like Rey is rebirthed as Rey Skywalker and takes on yellow as the next color of her lightsaber. So what if this is supposed to be Ventress's rebirth back into the light after being a servant of the darkness for so long?
Yeah,
I feel like that makes sense.
Yeah.
I would like some good explanation later at some point about what the damn lightsaber colors mean.
I'm pretty sure I've read that they actually don't have any meaning in canon.
I was going to say there isn't official meaning, so people make it that blue is like good in combat and that green is supposed to be good in using the force, which makes sense for the characters that it's talked about. And I feel like that's probably the most commonly agreeable thing. And then red is bad, but purple doesn't mean you're good at using the good and the bad, because that's not how the force works. But I would like an explanation on the rest. Like, what does white mean? Like, yes, we know it's from the purification of a kyber crystal, or that in Kylo's case, if you get a shattered crystal, it's even more combustible and dangerous. But give us something, please. We're asking in a visual dictionary. Just tell us, and then be done with it.
I know the canon lore as far as it goes. Like right now, what's considered canon, and correct me if I'm wrong, is for in Kylo Ren's case, because a red crystal is when a Sith bleeds a regular kyber crystal.
Yeah, because it was his blue crystal.
And when he tried to bleed it, it cracked.
Yes.
And that's why it is. It's unstable.
That was the canon
those
explanation.
Vents on the sides.
Yes, that's why you're right.
And then as far as the white ones, you're right. It's the purification of a red synthetic crystal.
But why does it turn white as opposed to every other color?
Right, yeah. So yeah, I don't know. That's my wild theory. But I do have a hunch.
That is a wild theory, though.
I do have a hunch that Wolf might show up in these next two episodes, just because of the pretty consistent theory of Dave Filoni shows when they do a trailer. It's usually just up until the first half.
I don't think anything about the outpost was in this trailer, though. Or like the worm thing that they were fighting.
The worm thing was in some of the more recent trailers.
Okay, that's what I thought. I'd have to go back and look at the first few trailers to see. But again, they're good at hiding this kind of stuff. So there's not a whole lot else that we can say on that.
It was also nice to see the Batch kind of as a group have a moment to kind of be sad and mourn Tech's death.
Yes, I agree.
When they're all sitting at the table. And
I was going to mention that, I forgot.
Even see Crosshair have a reaction was very, very nice.
Yeah, it was touching. It was upset because it's kind of just the constant reminder that when your best friends in the squad is dead and everybody has to pick up the slack. Like, I forget if it was Echo or Hunter was using those macro binoculars that was scanning the environment to see that the posts and whatnot could send out like those signals and whatnot, that was something that Tech would have done.
Yeah.
Or in Echo's case, when he's spotting them, that's something Tech would have done. And so now they're all trying to find their ways to incorporate his methods into what they do. Just because when I saw the binocular, like the screen of it, when they were showing them like looking through it, I was like, that's Tech. Like Tech would have totally done that kind of a thing. So it's upsetting, but...
Yeah. And I'm sure Jacob will be very happy to see that Echo still does not have the comma on his current costume.
He got rid of it.
The first thing that comes to my mind whenever I see Echo is when I don't see the comma, I go, oh, I know Jacob's happy.
Crosshair's technically the only one with different armor because he never painted it away from the black and the gray color scheme, and he still has the Bad Batch skulls on it.
I saw that.
Nobody else does. So what if before the final battle they all paint their armor back to the original color?
Dude, and especially like seeing how rough Wrecker and Hunter's armor is, especially on a brightly lit planet like
Echo's
Barton 4.
is still pretty fine, surprisingly enough.
I think it's again just kind of showing like how what great lengths Hunter and Wrecker went through. To trying to get Omega back. They were wearing themselves down. And that the armor is representative of that.
I would agree.
Now, this was the thing that I wanted to bring up that I figured that like I can't believe we haven't brought up yet. When they get into the outpost and Crosshair goes off by himself and finds the pile of clone trooper helmets, and it is implied that the one at the front, even though Mayday loses his helmet, or is it Crosshair loses his helmet?
Oh my gosh, no. He doesn't lose his helmet. When they get back to the outpost, Crosshair pulls off his helmet.
Yes, that's what it is.
So his helmet is still there.
Yeah.
So that would make sense.
So it is Mayday's helmet.
Crosshair lost his helmet in the avalanche.
So, he sees the pile of clone helmets, which once were lined up on the crates. But obviously when the TKs were moving all the gear out, they just tossed them in a pile. You have that really, really solemn moment where he sees Mayday's helmet and he starts lining up all the helmets like Mayday would have wanted. That was a very powerful moment.
That honestly, every time I was watching that, it made me really misty. Just because it was... I loved Mayday as a character. He represented what the clones were really supposed to be still, and how they were still trying, like, in their own ways to talk back to the Empire.
Yeah.
But I thought that was a really touching moment, because he walked over to the lantern that Mayday moved over for him so they could chat. And then he looked at the box that they would have sat on to talk, and then it's just their helmets are just piled there. And I feel like that's when Hunter sees the compassion that could be in Crosshair, is because he knew that Crosshair hated Regs. And for him to treat a Regs helmet with such respect, to line it back up in a way and not let it lie on the floor, I feel like speaks volumes now to the character development that we've had in Crosshair.
For sure.
Because Crosshair Season 1 would be like, freaked the hell out if he saw this season's Crosshair. And how he acts, because he'd be like, why do you act this way? And the Bad Batch has done an amazing job at developing characters time and time again. And now I feel like Omega's the best representation of that too, because I've seen a lot of people online really liking Omega and what she does, because they're like, oh, she isn't the whiny kid anymore. They gave Omega the Ahsoka treatment, and you gotta let Dave cook when he writes a story, because she grew up and now she's a young woman, and so she's embracing that role as well.
She even goes as far as to call Crosshair little brother.
I thought that was a really cute moment.
She is kind of like, in some ways she acts like the older sister of the group, be like the oldest sibling, because like when Hunter and Crosshair are arguing right when they get off the ship, she looks at Crosshair and she's like, I said talk to him, not argue with him.
That was a really nice moment. I think when I started to watch it with my dad was like, how come Omega's like the most mature one in the group now? Like when they're fighting, which was kind of funny, but it's true. It's funny to see Omega be the bigger sister, in quotations, to the group.
There's a lot of bad blood between Crosshair and Hunter specifically.
But I feel like that was resolved now.
It was. And I think we're at a really good point where I feel like we can move forward, and I don't feel like there's going to be a rift between any of the squad members, or like Echo said, I told you to figure it out. There wasn't even any blood this time.
But the comedy and the jokes were a nice touch. But the episode just amazing.
I think that's what really has always gravitated me towards the Bad Batch, is because they're clones, and I feel like I already know these characters because I've watched the Clone Wars for so many years growing up. So I already feel like I'm already super partial to these characters, and so I don't, it's just great to see them reunite, and I'm excited to see now that they're a team, how this team is going to go forward and help with. I feel like this is now, especially Omega's definitely going to be the one that pushes the Bad Batch to help Rex now.
Yeah.
Going forward, because she has so much more drive to help the clones than she had before.
Yeah, I hope we don't lose Echo. Because, I mean, Echo keeps going back to Rex. I just hope in the next episode that he wasn't like, okay, peace, guys, and, like, gone. I hope he stays a little bit longer, and we get to see him be in the group, like, again.
Where could the clones possibly go, the survivors? Because we know that there's Rex, Gregor, and Wolf kind of doing their own thing, but Rex could have done that by choice.
Yeah.
That totally could have just been his decision to do that.
I don't know. I guess we'll have to see where Rex has been. I mean, hopefully they tell us. I could only,
Right.
It is what it is, but...
Right. But that's all I got for this episode. Fantastic episode of the Bad Batch.
Oh, yeah. I would, if I had to rate this episode as a standalone, I would have given it a 10. Because it was just good.
I thought you don't.
I know I don't rate episodes.
I thought you don't rate episodes.
This was just such a good episode compared to like everything that we've gotten so far. It's just like really exceeded my expectations of the Bad Batch, and I'm just so excited for the rest of this season.
Yeah, dude, me too, and I'm so happy. I also would probably give this episode like a 9 or a 10.
Okay.
Because it was so much to it. I mean, we were able to just carry a discussion for a full podcast episode. Really just talking about this one 30-minute episode.
Yeah, because you started to go in chronological order, and I said, hold up, I gotta stop that, because there were some good moments that we could talk about.
Yeah.
Instead of being like, in a minute mark, 5 minutes and 43 seconds, Crosshair and these characters did this.
Do you remember when that was what we called our breakdowns? Where
that's what I was trying to avoid, because I hated when we did that.
Oh, don't worry, I wouldn't have...
For bit, scene for scene, what did they say, what did they do?
We wouldn't even talk about significance. We would just talk about the things that happened and what we liked.
And there was a lot of things I liked, so that's why that's why I'm happy I was able to derail it to that, instead of, hey guys, at the beginning of the episode, we see AZ and be like, no!
Don't worry, because, in my head, though, I do try to go just through the episode, so that way I can pick apart and like, oh, okay, I wanted to talk about that.
You're good.
Yeah, don't worry, I wouldn't have thrown us down that rabbit hole.
I was trying to think if there's anything in collecting news that we needed to mention. The
Balin and Shin Hot Toys that just got revealed.
Oh my gosh. It was only like, there was not a lot of reveals, so that's why we're not really doing a Tikas for it, because it's not worth it. But the Balin and Shin Hot Toy is insane. The likeness to Jay that they got is incredible.
Did you also hear about the Black Series Marok? There's just a ton of drama going on with that right now.
Yeah. I just don't know what to believe, if it's not officially going to be in production anymore, or what's going on.
Basically, long story short, Entertainment Earth sent out emails to people who had Marok on pre-order and said, hey, this product has been discontinued by Hasbro, like the manufacturer.
Yeah.
We cannot get this figure. We won't get this figure, so we're going to have to cancel your pre-order. So a lot of people got nervous. At the time, Marok was in stock from Hasbro Pulse.
Yes.
So when I saw that email, I had one pre-ordered on Big Bad Toy Store, but I haven't, what's the word I'm looking for? I had one pre-ordered there. I didn't want to lose out on my potential, get lumped in with those people. So what I did was I went over to Pulse and I bought an in-stock Marok. Mm-hmm. And then the next day, Marok disappeared from Pulse's website, but that's because Marok sold out on Pulse's website. So I don't think Hasbro took the listing down because they're discontinuing it on their website. I think they were selling their stock, and then once it's gone, it's gone. Yeah. So I'm a little nervous, though, because I'm waiting to get... I haven't gotten an email still saying that the Marok has shipped. So I'm worried that Hasbro is going to send me an email and be like... No, it's not happening.
Yeah, this is the part of the podcast where we beg and plead to our audience. If you find a Marok, please DM us immediately. Both of us are looking for one now. our Walmarts have gotten, every single Walmart I think we have has gotten at least 3 full waves of the Ahsoka figures, but no Marok, because somebody bought all the Maroks from all the waves. That's the only figure that's missing, because it's Shins and Balins and everything else as far as the eye can see except Marok. And I don't want it to be one of those figures that just shoots up in price because it was a limited quantity thing. And I didn't purchase it originally just because I was like, oh, like, I'm not really looking into getting it now because, you know, I'm trying to be smart with my money. I wasn't one of those people that was like, I'm going to wait for it to go on clearance. I was just like, I'll wait a little bit, wait till I get my money up, not my funny up, you know, and I'll get it. But now I'm like, crap, I should have gotten it.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's okay. We got some boys that are on the hunt right now that said they've recently seen Marok in store. So,
so please, I'm begging you, please. Actually, crap, I need to talk to Hybrid and Hunter, because shout out to our boys, Hybrid and Hunter, and Skywalker Hendricks, all going to DC to AwesomeCon. Wilbon's going to be there too. Shout out to him as well. But I need to see if they can find me this Crosshair that I'm playing with on the table, because more than ever, I'm like, I need it. I need it, please. I regret selling it, please. I needed money for my wedding. I'm begging you. But such happens.
Yeah, such is life.
Such is life. But I think that's all that I have really for the show.
That's it. That's all I got.
All right. Thank you everybody so much for watching this episode of the podcast. Just want to remind you as well that we do have merchandise. If you are interested in that, go to the 1313 merchandise tab in our link tree. You'll find our website on Printify. Start ordering you and your friends some awesome 1313 merch. If you want to talk to us and anybody else in the Discord, make sure you join it. It's an amazing community full of very, very awesome people. Check us out on Instagram, X, and Twitch. I forgot Battlefront Classic is coming out next week.
We're gonna have to
we're gonna
stream
be
that.
ripping that like crazy. We might have to stream it because it comes out on a Thursday night, and Maya's at work until 11, bro. So I'm about to be on the game all night on Battlefront Classic. Shout out to her because she won't be on the well, she won't watch this or know about it. But thank you everybody so much for watching. Also consider supporting us financially on Patreon. Hey patrons, we gave away the prize for last month. We're figuring out the one for this month. Maybe if we can get a Marok, we'll do that because people will like it. But we have a backup plan in case. But other than that, see you guys next week.
Bye, everybody!
For the double feature of Bad Batch 2 episodes.
Hey, this is Vanessa Marshall. I play Hera Syndulla on Star Wars Rebels, and you're listening to the 1313 podcast.
Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun.
Hum da da hum da da hum dum dum da. Hum da da hum da da dum dum da dum. Bado 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 dum. Hum da dum hum da da hum dum 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 dum. Dum dum da dum hum da da hum dum dum da. Hey, I'm da dum da dum da. Hum da dum da dum da dum da. Dum da da ba da dum dum da ba ba da ba da.